Assalamu students and parents and teachers. Today's video is about the difference between analysis and evaluation. A-level economics, students often wonder, and even teachers wonder, that what is analysis and what is evaluation and what is the difference. As you're aware that there are three assessment objectives, but we call them AO, assessment objective. AO1 is knowledge understanding. I won't be talking about AO1 knowledge understanding in today's video. However, I'll be talking about AO2, that is analysis. Briefly, we call it AN. AO3, evaluation. And briefly, we call it EV. So what is analysis? What is evaluation? What you need to do to get full marks for analysis and full marks for evaluation? We'll talk about that. Please note that there are two exam papers. One is AS and one A2. AS exam is paper 2. In Pakistan, we take variant 2 of paper 2. That is why the component we take in Pakistan is double 2. Whereas for Pakistan, the variant 2 of paper 4, and that is 4-2. Paper 4-2 for A level, that is A2 part, or you can call it A level, and double 2 is for AS. There are 4 essays, 2 micro and 2 macro. 4 essays, 2 micro and 2 macro, and you have to attempt 1 micro essay for this paper, 1 macro essay out of 2 for this, 1 micro out of 2 for this, and 1 macro out of 2. The difference is in the marks. In paper 2, 1 essay has 2 parts. Part A has 8 marks, part B has 12 marks. Total are 20. Whereas in paper 4, there are no multi-part questions. There is only 1 essay, and that is of 20 marks. 1 essay, 20 marks each. So total marks for 1 essay are 20, but they are divided here, and they are for the full and complete essay. There is a difference between the definitions of analysis and evaluation in both these components, and I'll try to emphasize on those differences. I'll try to explain to you if you're taking AS and if you're writing an essay in paper 2, what should you take care of, and if you're writing an essay in paper 4, what you need to take care of to get full marks for analysis as well as for evaluation. So in part A, there are 3 assessment objectives which are evaluated, are considered. AO1, that is knowledge understanding, 3 marks. AO2, that is analysis, 3 marks. AO3, that is evaluation, 2 marks. And for part B, there are 3 analysis, first side, 4 marks. Analysis, second side of the argument, 4 marks. Evaluation, 4 marks. So that is how 12 marks are divided. Analysis of one side of the argument will give you a maximum of 4 marks. Analysis of the other side of the argument will give you another 4 marks. And evaluation will give you 4 marks. Out of these 4 marks for evaluation, 1 mark is for a valid conclusion. So we may say that marks are divided in 4 areas: 4, 4, 3, and 1. 4, one side of analysis; 4, the other side of analysis; 3, evaluation; 1, conclusion. On the other hand, the 20 marks for this essay, 14 marks are for AO1 plus AO2. Now, what is AO1? Knowledge understanding. What is AO2? Analysis. So 14 marks are for analysis, and whereas 6 marks are for evaluation, and out of those 6 marks, again, 1 mark is reserved for a valid conclusion. So this is the marks division. We now try to explain what you need to do to get full marks for analysis in part A, and then in part B, and then what you need to do over here to get the full marks. So if there are 8 marks over here, and out of these 8 marks, 3 marks are for analysis. The definition of analysis. The definition of analysis in paper 2 and in paper 4 is different. Analysis in paper 2 is analysis plus limitations. So limitations of analysis is part of analysis for paper 2. You cannot get full marks for analysis unless you identify at least one limitation of the analysis. On the other hand, limitations of analysis limitations of analysis is evaluation. It's interesting to note, limitation of analysis in paper 2 is analysis. Limitation of analysis in paper 4 is evaluation. I can give you an example now. Example is, I am quoting a question from one of the past papers. Explain what are merit goods and how can subsidies be used to raise the consumption of a merit good such as education or health. So, what is a merit good? Why are they underconsumed? Examples, definitions, they could give you knowledge marks. Again, not part of our today's video. Analysis. So analysis will say impact of subsidy on consumption. That's analysis. Cause and effect. Subsidy is the cause, effect is increased consumption. What is the linkage? That linkage needs to be established for analysis. So if some candidate says subsidies are financial grant, knowledge, they reduce cost of production, effect, they shift supply curve downward, effect, they help lower the price of the merit goods, effect, analysis, they make the merit good affordable, effect, they raise the consumption, effect, and if you show it through a graph, upward, downward shift in supply curve, lower price, higher quantity, quantity along x-axis, by price along y-axis, and you show that the consumption will go up, that is analysis. But this analysis will give you only 2 marks out of 3. 3 marks for analysis because you have not identified any limitations yet. So to get 3 full marks for analysis, for part A of paper 2, you need to write subsidies are a financial grant, they lower cost of production, shift supply curve downward, lower the price of merit goods, make them more affordable, help, encourage or prompts consumers to consume more quantity or a higher quantity of consumer goods as shown in the diagram. 2 marks. However, so remember this tip. Then you're doing paper 2, part A, and you're doing analysis. Please remember to use this word however, because however will identify that you are now talking about, or you are going to challenge the analysis. You are going to identify the limitation of the analysis. So, as I said, analysis, subsidies will help raise consumption. However, it depends upon price elasticity of demand of merit goods. If PED is low, subsidy may not be effective. So that limitation needs to be identified to get full marks for analysis. So if limitation of analysis is analysis, then what is evaluation? So I'll come back to that. I move to paper 4. Over here, any limitation of analysis is evaluation. It's very simple. That's why it's easier to score marks in paper 4, because analysis is one side of the argument, and if you challenge the analysis, now I'm using the word challenge. If you challenge the analysis, that is evaluation. For example, multinational companies benefit. Multinational companies bring job opportunities. They create job opportunities. Analysis. Challenge the analysis. However, high-skilled jobs, high-paying jobs are probably taken away by MNCs, the original country, that they may bring people with themselves. They may bring people from their own country for higher-paying and high-skilled jobs, and only low-skilled and low-paying jobs are given to the local citizens. So that's challenge of analysis. So that is evaluation. So it's very simple in paper 4. Analysis and challenging analysis is evaluation. So analysis is one side of the argument. Evaluation is limitations and a challenge to analysis. That is evaluation. I may write it over here so that you may look at it properly. So analysis is cause and effect, and evaluation is challenging the analysis or identifying the shortcomings of the analysis, the limitations of analysis. Now, what is evaluation then? Over here, evaluation is clear. What is evaluation here? So the same question is the coding. So in evaluation, you may identify another limitation. You may identify another limitation of the analysis. And you may say, or you may identify that what will identify what will strengthen the relationship between subsidy and consumption, or what will weaken it. So what will strengthen? The amount of subsidy. If amount of subsidy is significant, and that subsidy, the grant of that subsidy helps lower the price of education or health or any other matter good significantly, that may have greater impact, higher impact on the consumption. If subsidy is of a little amount, it may not have a significant effect on consumption. So what will strengthen the relationship between subsidy and consumption? The greater amount of subsidy. If the amount of subsidy is small, the impact will be weaker. Another thing you can identify in evaluation, information failure. If some steps are taken by the government to overcome the information failure, for example, people are doubtful about the use of vaccination. They are thinking, because of information failure, they're thinking that the vaccination use of that may damage their health in the long run. So if government can run a campaign where people's information failure is overcome, where correct information is provided to people about the use of vaccination, the consumption, the subsidy on merit good on vaccination could be more effective. It will strengthen the relationship. So identify the relationship factors that strengthen or weaken the relationship, and then give a conclusion. Now, in this case, the question could be that subsidies could be effective in raising consumption. However, they should be backed with campaigns to overcome information failure, and the amount of subsidy matters also. So that's my point of view. Over here, in paper 4, is simple analysis and evaluation. The remaining thing, what is the remaining thing? Part B of paper 2. So we now focus exclusively on paper 2 and part B of that. Because so part B, as I said, one side of the argument analysis, one side of the other side of the argument analysis, and then evaluation. So what is evaluation here? What is analysis? First, analysis. Again, limitations of analysis will be part of analysis. You cannot get full marks of analysis, 4 marks of one side, unless you identify at least one limitation. So for example, we talk about the role of PD and MED for a business person. Or we talk about, we can take this question. So PD and business person. So analysis. PD shows the relationship between percentage change in quantity and percentage change in price. The extent to which quantity would change when price is changed. So it helps producers predict revenues. In case PED is low, the business person can lower the price. And that will help them raise. If PED is low, business person can raise the price. And that will raise total revenue. Why? You need to give the analysis for that. Maybe through a diagram, maybe through an example, maybe through, and of course we'll do a detailed video on this particular question. So you need to give the reason why would revenues go up if price is risen for a good which has low PED. Now, I can give you one example. When price is risen, revenue quantity falls, but quantity fall is less in percentage, whereas increase in price is more in percentage. That is why PED is low. So what we can say, that a businessman, if he identifies, if he's aware of the PED of his product, and PED turns out to be less than 1, the business person can raise the price to raise revenue, as the revenues gained by high price will be more than the revenues lost by lower quantity. Of course, if I'm teaching a class and there are tuition students and they're paying me per student, I'm charging a fee. If I raise the price, I'll get more revenue, but some students will leave. I lose the revenue. So if increase in revenue because of high price is more than the decrease in revenue because of lower students, my total revenue would go up. So that's need to be explained. So you get 3 marks of this. 4th mark. However, PED may not be reliable because it is based on the data which may not be accurate. So there's a limitation analysis. So 4 marks for one side of the argument can be obtained only after 4 marks for can be obtained only if 4 marks can be obtained for analysis only if you identify at least one limitation. So word however is important in part A as well as in part B to get full marks for analysis. 3 marks for analysis in part A, 4 marks and 4 marks you need to write however twice at least. Now the other side, MED, the usefulness of that. So MED tells you about the nature of the product, tell the producer whether the product is normal or inferior. If MED is positive, good is normal. If MED is negative, good is inferior. That's knowledge, analysis. So in case economy is booming, incomes are rising, it means demand for normal goods will rise. And producers should produce more of normal goods, better quality goods. In case incomes are falling, demand for inferior goods will go up. In that case, businesses should produce, no, incorrect word, poor quality goods. No, never say poor quality goods. Say businesses should produce goods with basic variants, which have basic features, which, for example, a bed and breakfast hotel, instead of a 5-star hotel, which has variety of restaurants and maybe gym facility and probably 4 types of swimming pools. No, only bed and breakfast. Simple breakfast, a simple bedroom. That's it. And that is an inferior good. So instead of building 5-star hotels, build bed and breakfast hotels where incomes are falling as demand for inferior goods goes up. So there's analysis. What should a businessman do? What is the benefit of MED for a business person? But for full marks, you again need to identify the limitation. The limitation is the weakness of analysis. Again, you may say, income last month may not be accurately calculated. Taste of preferences of consumer change is dynamic. Income last month is based on the past data. It may not be applicable. The decisions are going to be made for future. So information of past may not be relevant for making decisions in the future. And particularly if there is a growing economy, habits change, preferences change. So in a growing economy, MED may not be relevant, may not be reliable. So that's analysis. Now, what is evaluation? So remember in part B, in single word, paper 4, evaluation is challenging the analysis. The word starts with C. In part B, evaluation is comparison. Comparison of 2 policies you studied, or 2 tools, or 2 pieces of information, PD and MED, the comparison. That's evaluation. So if you want to remember one word for evaluation, for paper 4 and paper 2, for paper 2, evaluation is comparison. But for stock scheme, subsidies. Fiscal policy, monetary policy. Which policy is more effective? Buy. So in comparison, this is a keyword. And over here, the keyword is challenging the analysis. Limitation of analysis is evaluation. So comparison, please use these words. More effective, less effective, more useful, less useful. It's better, it's less, it may not give the required result. That may be more effective in giving the result. So such words should be used over here for evaluation in paper 2 part B. For example, PD is more useful as altering price is possible and a single business can alter the price. So it's more useful. It's more in the control of the business. Whereas changing income of consumers is beyond the control of an individual business. That is why MED is less useful. Comparison, evaluation. MED is less useful in the short run because changing price is possible in the short run and results can be obtained instantly. But MED is more useful for the long run. As MED, knowledge of MED may require you to change the type of product. You are building a 5-star hotel. No, you are now building a bed and breakfast hotel. You are producing luxury cars. Now you want to produce cars which have basic features only. So you need to change the production line. You need to train your workers. You need to alter your resources accordingly. It will take time. So MED is more useful in the long run. PD is more useful in the short run. So more, less. These words need to be used. Comparison. Whereas over here, you need to use only the limitation. Subsidies are awareness campaign, which is more effective in raising consumption of merit goods. Subsidies give financial incentive. They may have an instant impact on the pocket of the consumers, and consumers may use more of merit goods because they're getting a financial incentive. A awareness campaign may show their effect, but in the long run. So awareness campaign could be more effective in the long run. Subsidies could be more effective in the short run. That's valuation. So words such as more or less and words such as however will give you marks for analysis and evaluation. For analysis, use the word however. Paper 2, part A as well in part B to identify the limitation analysis. And for evaluation, use the word more or less frequently. Over here, it's simple. Analysis is one side of the argument, evaluation the other side of the argument. That's why we can see, the examiners can see or track back or trace pieces of evaluation right from the beginning. Even in the first paragraph, there could be some analysis and there could be some evaluation. Whereas evaluation in these part B questions is usually found towards the end of the answer. I hope you found this video useful. Please do subscribe to our channel and stay tuned. We'll keep uploading more and more videos and we'll appreciate your feedback. Thank you very much.